When I went to dinner at the restaurant, my daughter said, "Dad, I no longer see you as my father." My son added, "Me neither." I just smiled at them, thanked them, and left an envelope before leaving. When they opened the envelope. If this story resonates with you, subscribe to the channel and share in the comments which city you're watching from. We'd love to know where our community is growing. I received that invitation via text message. It wasn't a call or a visit, but a dry, proper, and distant text. "Dad, we need to talk. La Encina Real Restaurant, tomorrow at 8 p.m. It's important, Lucia." Lucia, my 44-year-old daughter, the same woman who used to call me every Sunday and come see me with my grandchildren once a month until she stopped doing so about 6 months ago. The calls started getting spaced out, the visits disappeared completely, and now this an almost official appointment at an expensive restaurant. Deep down I knew from the first moment that nothing good would come of it. I arrived at La Encina Real at 7:55, 5 minutes early, as I have done all my life. There are habits that don't fade even with time. I dressed with care, dark gray suit, white shirt, blue tie, and those well-polished shoes that my late wife Isabel said gave me a distinguished air. Isabel passed away 6 years ago after a hard illness, and since then my children gradually changed. Or maybe I was the one who changed. Or maybe Isabel was the invisible thread keeping us together. And when she was gone, everything started breaking in silence. The restaurant was elegant, the kind with white tablecloths, dim lights, and prices that seemed designed to test anyone's patience. It was never a place for me, but it did fit Lucia's style perfectly. She was already sitting at a table by the window. Beside her was Alvaro, my son, the same boy I took every Saturday to watch football and who now, having become a bank manager, barely found time to call me once a month. "Dad, you're early," Lucia said, with impeccable, though icy, courtesy. "I'm always early. I was taught that punctuality is a form of respect." "Yes, you were always very rigid with those rules," Alvaro replied with a tone that made it clear he didn't mean it as a compliment. I took a seat. Immediately a waiter appeared. I ordered water. Lucia chose an expensive white wine. Alvaro ordered whiskey. Then I looked at both of them and asked, "What is this meeting for?" The message sounded urgent. Lucia and Alvaro exchanged a quick glance. That glance that only those who have already rehearsed a difficult conversation before uttering the first word have. "Dad," Lucia began, "Alvaro and I have been talking about you and our relationship with you." "All right, I'm listening." "And we have come to the conclusion that this isn't working anymore." "What exactly isn't working?" Alvaro let out a breath before answering. "This obligation to pretend we have a close relationship with you. This constant pressure to appear as if we're the perfect family when the truth is we're not." Their words hit me with brutal force, as if each one landed directly in my chest. Even so, my expression didn't change. At 70 years old, you learn that sometimes the deepest pain is also faced in silence. I've been through worse things than this. "Go on." Alvaro took the floor. "Dad, the truth is you were never really a father to us. You were always working, always stuck in meetings, always putting your company before everything. Mom practically raised us alone. I worked to give you a good life, to pay for your studies." "No, those were your excuses," Lucia cut me off. "You always had a reason not to be at our school plays, our games, our important moments. There was always a more urgent meeting, a more important client. I was at both of your graduations. You arrived late to mine," Alvaro said. 40 minutes late. "You missed it when I was named best student, because you were taking an important call, and to my wedding," Lucia added. "You arrived just as the ceremony was about to begin. You almost didn't make it because you were closing a deal. I worked hard to give you opportunities one never had." "No, Dad," Lucia replied coldly. "You worked hard because that was what really mattered to you. Work, money, success. It was never us." The waiter returned to the table. They ordered dinner. Steak for Alvaro, salmon for Lucia. I ordered soup. By then, my hunger was completely gone. When the waiter walked away, I looked at them and asked, "Where are you going with all this?" Lucia held my gaze. "We want to be honest with you. I don't see you as my father anymore. I see you as a stranger I share a last name with, as someone who participated in my existence, but who was never really present." "I feel the same," Alvaro said, "and we're tired of pretending, tired of the obligatory dinners at Christmas, the calls out of obligation, of acting as if there's a close father-children relationship between us, when in reality, we barely know you. So what exactly are you proposing? Lucia took a deep breath before answering. That we end this farce. That each of us goes our own way without guilt and without obligations. A clean break. You're kicking me out of the family. We prefer to call it a mutual separation. Lucia said, it'll be better for everyone. You can live your life and we ours without the constant pressure of pretending something that doesn't exist. Silence fell over the table. Around us, the restaurant was still full of voices, laughter, toasts, plates coming and going, couples enjoying the evening, families celebrating, life moving forward completely normally. And in the midst of all that, the three of us were there watching a family fall apart between white tablecloths and shiny cutlery. And my grandchildren? I finally asked. Lucia didn't hesitate. They'll be better off this way, without that confusion, without having to visit a grandfather they don't really know, who means nothing to them. I mean nothing. You mean expensive gifts at Christmas? She replied. You mean an older man who shows up from time to time and asks questions about school, but a real connection? No, Dad. That never existed because you never dedicated time to building it. Alvaro leaned forward a bit. Look, Dad, we don't want to hurt you. We just want to tell the truth. And the truth is everything would be easier if we stopped pretending once and for all. I nodded slowly. I understand. They both looked at me surprised by my calmness. Really, Lucia asked. Yes, I understand you perfectly. You feel I wasn't a good father, that I put work first, that I failed you, and that now you want to remove me from your lives definitively. Exactly, Alvaro said almost with relief. I watched them for a few seconds before answering. Then, let me tell you something. You're right. This time the surprise on their faces was genuine. I worked too much. I missed important moments. I put building my company above time with you. All that is true. So, you understand why we're doing this? Lucia said. Perfectly. And in fact, I thank you for finally being honest with me. I reached into the inner pocket of my jacket and took out a carefully sealed white envelope. I left it on the table. This is my farewell gift to you. Open it, Lucia. She took the envelope cautiously, opened it slowly, took out the documents, and started reading. As she progressed, her face lost color. What is this? Read it out loud so Alvaro can hear it too. Her voice trembled as she pronounced the first words. Last will and testament of Lorenzo Medina Garcia. Final revision. To my children Lucia Medina Ruiz and Alvaro Medina Ruiz, I leave the sum of 1,000 euros each, an amount sufficient to cover my farewell expenses. The rest of my estate will be distributed as follows. Lucia stopped reading and looked up at me. The rest of your estate. Dad, you sold your company years ago. You live in a simple apartment. You drive an old car. We thought you barely had anything. You thought I was a man without resources. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Yes, I continued. That was exactly the image I wanted you to have. Keep reading. Lucia returned to the document. Her voice came out almost in a whisper. Stocks and bonds. Current value 2,800,000 euros. Investment properties, 2 commercial buildings in Madrid. Combined value 3 million. Investment funds and savings accounts 1.5 million. Estimated total value of the estate 7.5 million euros. Alvaro snatched the papers from her hands. This can't be true. 7.5 million is impossible. Not only is it possible, it's very real. I sold my company 10 years ago for 4 million. I invested wisely. I bought properties when the market crashed. I lived discreetly, and for a decade that money did nothing but grow. Lucia looked at me as if she didn't recognize me. And you never told us anything. No, because I wanted to discover who you really were. Without the weight of money, without the expectation of an inheritance. I just wanted to see what kind of people you really were. Lucia continued reading the final part of the document. With each line her expression became more tense. Main beneficiaries, Spanish Oncological Research Foundation, 3 million euros. Caritas Spain, 2 million euros. University scholarships. Lorenzo and Isabel Medina for students without resources, 2 million euros. To my children, 1,000 euros each, as previously indicated. Alvaro raised his voice, unable to contain himself. You're going to give 7 million euros to charities. 7,498,000 to be exact. You receive 1,000 euros each for my farewell expenses, assuming, of course, that you decide to show up. This is madness. We are your children. Yes. And barely 5 minutes ago you told me you wanted a clean break, that you didn't see me as your father anymore, that it was best for everyone to go their own way. Do you remember? The silence was immediate. Well, this, I said, pointing to the document, is exactly that. A clean break, without obligations, without guilt, and without inheritance. Lucia tried to react. Dad, wait. Can we talk about this? We didn't mean it so seriously. You didn't mean it completely seriously. You thought about it, prepared it, rehearsed it. You summoned me to an expensive restaurant because you thought I wouldn't make a scene here. You gave me every detail. Alvaro swallowed hard. We were just being honest about how we felt. Sure, but apparently that honesty didn't include giving up the money. Neither of them said a word. I looked at them calmly because in the end that's what they wanted, not to break the emotional bond, but to keep the financial benefit, to free themselves from the family without losing what the family could leave them. Lucia looked down. Alvaro clenched his jaw, but didn't answer either. And here's the hardest part. I continued. You are right about many things. I was a bad father. I worked too much. I missed moments that won't come back. I have no excuses for that, but I did do something right. I built an estate that until tonight I planned to leave to you completely. Then why not? Because tonight you showed me with total clarity who you really are. People who value relationships based on what they can get out of them. People willing to erase me from their lives until they discover there was money involved. That isn't how it is, Lucia murmured. Oh no. Barely 30 seconds ago you were completely convinced that it was best if we never saw each other again. And now suddenly you want to talk. What changed? Your feelings or my account balance? At that moment the plates arrived, steak, salmon, and my soup. No one touched anything. Alvaro was the first to break the silence. There is no way you'll change your mind. About what exactly? I asked. About the will or about the separation? About both things, Dad. We made a mistake. We were hurt carrying resentments from years ago, but we didn't expect this. No, what you didn't expect were the consequences. You thought you could remove me from your lives without it having a real price. Lucia took another step. Please, there must be some way to fix it. I nodded calmly. Yes, there is. In fact, it's quite simple. They both leaned towards me at the same time, full of hope. Live with the decision you made. Move forward with that clean break you yourselves proposed. Don't call me. Don't visit me. Don't pretend interest. And when I'm gone, take your 1,000 euros each and use them for the farewell. Or don't. Frankly, by then I won't care. They both stood motionless, and those 7 million will go to people and causes that really mean something. To oncological research so others don't go through what I experienced when I lost Isabel, to organizations that help those who truly need it, to study scholarships for young people whose parents can't pay for their degree. Alvaro looked at me in disbelief. And your own children? My own children just told me they prefer to have no relationship with me. You can't keep both parts. You can't reject the bond and at the same time demand the inheritance. I stood up, took out a 100 euro bill, and left it on the table to cover my untouched dinner. Enjoy the evening. Enjoy your clean break, and also enjoy your lives without the burden of pretending you care about me. Dad, wait. No, I'm the one who already waited too long. I waited for calls. I waited for visits. I waited for some sign of affection that had nothing to do with money. And now, finally, I'm clear on how things are. Thank you for making it so clear. I left the restaurant, got into my old car, a 2015 Toyota Corolla that still worked perfectly, and drove to my simple flat, a 2-bedroom apartment in a quiet neighborhood for which I paid 800 euros a month. The truth is I never needed luxuries. I preferred to live without excesses and use money wisely, invest it, make it grow, and allocate part to help. I learned that from Isabel too. She always said, money is a tool, not a metal. At 10 p.m. my phone started ringing. Lucia, I let it go to voicemail. Then Alvaro also to voicemail. That night they called 11 times between the two of them. In the following days came messages, emails, texts, voice notes. Dad, please, let's talk. We made a mistake. We didn't mean to say all that. The kids ask about you. That last message drew a bitter laugh from me. The same kids who, according to Lucia, would be better off without the confusion of knowing me. Now, suddenly they missed me. I didn't answer any. 2 weeks later they showed up at my apartment. They rang the doorbell for 10 minutes. I was inside sitting and reading. I didn't open it. When they left a letter. I read it later. It was long, Well written, full of apologies, promises to change, and pleas to reconsider the will. But nowhere did they talk about building a real relationship. Not a single line about sharing time, recovering what was lost, or trying to really start over. Everything revolved around money, always money. It's been 3 months now. The calls stopped, the messages too. I guess they got tired. Or maybe now they're just waiting for the final moment to see if they can contest the will. My lawyer assured me it's bulletproof, although you never know. What I do know is this. That night, in that restaurant, my children showed me exactly who they were, and I also showed them who I am. I am someone who doesn't accept being treated as something expendable, except when there is money involved. 7.5 million euros remain invested with precise instructions so that when I am gone, everything is distributed automatically. Oncological research, social aid, educational scholarships in memory of Isabel and Lucia, and Alvaro will receive 1,000 euros each, exactly what was decided that night. A clean break.